Have you noticed that there is one small cap growth stock that a lot of investors have started talking about only recently? And for good reason. They've posted triple digit growth rates, meaning not below 100%, every quarter since March of 2022. And subsequently, the share price has risen over 1,000%. Now, when I hear that kind of information, I am compelled to take a closer look at the company's business model and try to work out if they have a durable advantage and would generate outsized returns for investors in the long run. The company I'm talking about is TransMedics Group. What I'm going to do in this video, I'll keep it short and sweet. I'm literally going to give you a 5-minute overview of exactly what TransMedics do, synthesize all of that information for you so you can go away with a clear picture of this company. In future videos, we'll go more into the management, the financials, and their long-term plan. But for now, I just want you to understand what the hype is all about and how have they been able to achieve such insane growth rates, because these growth rates, they're not normal, and they've been achieving them now for well over 2 years, and this is a company, they're not making huge revenue, but they're still making a few hundred million a year. So to go from 200 million to 400 million to 800 million potentially is very impressive and is noteworthy. So in one sentence, what they say in their annual report is, we are a commercial stage medical technology company transforming organ transplant therapy for end-stage organ failure patients across multiple disease states. Now, what does that mean in plain English? Well, so effectively, the target market that TransMedics are trying to help are people that need heart transplants, lung transplants, and liver transplants. And they are solving the legacy issue that is, transplants don't often work, and there are many technical problems when transporting a vital organ from one person's body into another person's body. So conventionally, this was done using cold storage. So you would basically put an organ in a freezing box, you'd have a protective solution over it, and you would transport it this way. Now, with cold storage, there are a few issues, and these are the issues that TransMedics, with their innovative approach that I'm going to go through in a minute, is trying to solve. So effectively, when you put an organ in one of these cold little boxes, there's a very, very short time frame that it can be used to be saved. So, with a heart, it could be as short as 4 to 6 hours. With a lung, the same. With a liver, it typically only lasts 12 hours. As I said, these are the 3 key organs that TransMedics are focusing on. And that's a big issue because, if you've got someone with the perfect organ and that it's ready to be donated, but maybe that person has just died. If they've just died, it's obviously easier to donate it to somebody else. They may be 1,000 miles away. Now, getting that organ transported in 4 to 6 hours after death, using this cold storage option is incredibly tricky. So, another issue of cold storage is these organs can develop ischemic damage, meaning because they're not within the body, there's no blood being pumped to them, and obviously that blood is carrying all of the essential nutrients and the oxygen that they need to survive. So the organ can basically decay and die pretty quickly, and once it gets to that state, it's completely worthless. A third thing to think about as well is when an organ is in a cold storage box, you can't actually monitor the condition of the organ. So even if you think everything is dandy, when it actually comes to taking the organ out of the cold storage box, you might have an issue that wasn't necessarily accounted for, or there's no way of knowing that if ischemic damage occurred or not until you actually get the organ out of the box. So you've got all of these issues, and the thing is that people's lives are at stake here, right? So what TransMedics have done is they've developed 3 different machines, one for the heart, one for the lungs, one for the liver, and they basically mimic exactly how the human body would function with this organ. So it keeps the organ alive as if it was in a human body, but this human body is a machine. I'm going to show you a video of how this works. If you're particularly squeamish, then pause the video and don't look, because it sort of contains a real heart, but it'll give you a really good idea of exactly what these machines do.
Once Waleed's team proved the concept, they kept iterating the design to create a proper medical device that was also easily portable, finally earning FDA approval with this.
So now this is the clinical device.
That is the clinical device.
I hear this. I hear something going on. Is there an actual heart in here?
There is a beating heart in here.
Can we take a look?
Absolutely. As you can see, the heart is beating. perfused with oxygenated blood, and we can monitor pressures, flows, EKG, heart rate, the oxygen saturation, the metabolic condition of the heart, right here.
My heart is racing. This is incredible.
So there we go, a demonstration of how the machine operates using a real heart. Now, as I mentioned, they have these machines for lung, heart, and liver, so there's three main ones. And these three organs are the most common types of organs that are used in transplants. They don't make machines for kidneys. Kidney is a little bit different because someone can live off dialysis. We've got 2 kidneys, somebody can live off 1 kidney, and it's not as urgent. Obviously, if someone hasn't got a heart or a lung, they're not gonna live for more than a couple of minutes or even seconds. And for a liver, it's not too much longer after that. So these are the three that TransMedics focus on, and the reason why the stock has taken off. So this company went public in 2018 after they finally got FDA approval for the first one of these 3 machines, which was actually the lung. So they went public after that in 2019, and since then they got approval for the liver machine in 2021, and then they got approval for the heart machine in 2022 in the States. So I'm talking FDA. They had approval in the EU before that, but now they've got it in the States. Their revenue is really starting to ramp up, and yeah, this is what has caused a huge amount of interest in the share price. You can see the revenue by category here. As I've said, even though the liver was second one to be approved, liver transplant is really common. So you can see liver in the orange, then you've got the heart transplant machine revenue, that is in blue, and then you've got the lung, which is small, but it's still growing very fast. It's just less common transplant in red. So they've got all 3 categories growing. And what's really interesting about this company as well is you think about Intuitive Surgical, which kind of has similar economics to TransMedics Group. So Intuitive Surgical, they are famous for these Da Vinci machines that basically articulate robotic surgery to a higher degree of accuracy than humans, thereby saving lives. It's a big issue, right? And they're solving a big problem, meaning there's a lot of money to be made. It's kind of a similar thing where they've made a very intricate machine. It's heavily patented, the same way that TransMedics is heavily patented. And you've also got this large degree of switching costs where staff are trained on a given machine. You've got recurring revenue. You've got recurring revenue through parts that can be only used once. So whilst these TransMedics machines have a long life cycle, there are certain bits that need to be replaced after every use, which also adds to the complexity of the machines. And also with this, you've got a really time critical element to it, which also means that there's huge scale advantage in there. So TransMedics, they just bought an airline. It's actually worried investors a little bit because the economics of airlines are not the best. I know this is different. I know they've not got commercial paying customers, they've got organs instead. But the economics of airlines are pretty tricky, and TransMedics is still quite a small company to do this, but it adds that scale advantage where, because they've got the most resources and they've got the most machines, they can deliver in the most sort of time effective way, and thus have an economic advantage. But yeah, just going back to what I was saying a minute ago, Intuitive Surgical, right? Historically, they've done extremely well as a company, and I can kind of see the same sort of economics here within TransMedics Group. I've got a lot of questions to ask about this stock, but from a business perspective, there may be some potential here. So what I'm going to do in the next video is dive a little bit deeper into their fundamentals, into their business, and really try and work out, do they have the total addressable market? How durable is it? How likely is it that another company can come in, create something similar, get FDA approved and undercut them? Or are they going to be sort of serving this whole industry relatively exclusively with a wide economic moat and adding a lot of value to society for a really long time? Very, very, very interesting company. I will just say very quickly on the price of the stock has gone up a lot. It's going to be a company that's quite difficult to value at the moment because all of a sudden they've commercialized their main 3 products. They've all got approval and the revenue is skyrocketing. The share price is skyrocketing. So this isn't a company like Atlassian where the revenue growth steady 15 to 20% a year, or it's not even like a Zscaler where, you know, the revenue growth, the ARR is sort of compounding over time and you sort of buy it at a sort of bit of a discount. It's much more of one of those stocks where you have really good, solid, long-term potential. You accept there's going to be bumps in the road. You accept that you may not always be able to get it at the best price, but whenever there's a sort of hype cycle within the company, you need to identify a time where that hype cycle might die down. And that's what I'll be talking about a lot more next time, is that I understand buying a stock that's just gone up 1,000% can be a little bit intimidating. And then you've got to look at valuation and actually work out if the stock is priced for perfection. So stay tuned. I'm interested in this company. I'm going to do more research, and I'll see you guys in the next video.